So what I want to do today is walk you through the camera settings on the iPhone. And we'll talk about some of the various features on the camera. And then also the different types of pictures that you can take, whether those are portrait or panoramics, something like that. I'm just going to stop for a minute and see what brought people here today. Anything in particular you're interested in learning to do with your iPhone camera?
Take good pictures.
Okay.
Learn the basics.
Learn the basics. Okay. All
yes.
Right.
Yeah, I'm considering to change to the iPhone 12.
Yeah.
And
okay.
I have been sitting on my iPhone 7 now for for more than I would like, and so I'm considering to change to iPhone 12, and I want to be well aware of the
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. That sounds good.
This is Deborah. For as long
Yeah.
as I've had my phone, I've had iPhones for many, many, many years. And as familiar as I am with a lot of the functions, every time I take one of these classes, I learn something new.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good. I hope that happens today. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is, I've revamped this a little bit, but what this is based on the first class I ever taught on GetSetUp almost 2 years ago now. So it's evolved as the phone has evolved, but I always enjoy teaching it. What we're going to start with is going through the settings on the iPhone camera. And that means you're going to open your settings button or icon on your iPhone home screen, and you'll go down now on the, I think on some of the older models of the phone, might even look like this on the iPhone SE, might have this all in one. But on the later versions where you see the entire front real estate of the phone taken up by the screen, it's all touch screen, you'll be able to get in the camera that way. And there are a few things that you may want to set on here. So I'm going to walk through some of those. I'm going to share my phone screen here. Okay. And I'll shrink this a little so I can still see the chat. So again, this is where you're going to want to go to work on those settings, not to the camera itself at first, but down here. And then you scroll all the way down to camera. And I'm going to open that up, and I've got a bunch of different options here. Now, most everything up here is related to video, taking videos with your phone, which I'm not going to have time to go over today. I have a separate class on taking videos with your iPhone. It's iPhone Video Basics, and I think that's coming up Wednesday morning. So if you're interested in that, you can join me for that. But one thing that is really nice to have on some of the later models, if you aren't seeing these on your phone on your settings when you open it up, chances are that means you've got an older version of the phone that hasn't added that capability in that version. It hadn't done that yet. But Apple has added this use volume up to take a burst of photographs. So when you do that, if you turn this on and you are taking a picture and you use your volume up button on the side of your phone, it would be up here. It will take a burst of frames. This is really ideal if you're taking a picture of something really fast moving and you are sort of panning with it, wanting to make sure that you at least get one good shot out of that. Now, think about a bird that's about to take off in flight, something like that, that you might want to use that burst mode for. And then you come down here and there are a few options for what you can do here. I do want to show you there's a little bit of difference when you go in here. If you're on that iPhone 10 or earlier, it's probably going to look like this. And you'll come down here to auto HDR and keep normal photo. I'll go into a little more detail on what that means. This is what I'm seeing on mine. And I have smart HDR down here. And then on the new iPhone 13, HDR is automatic. Everything it does is automatic on the iPhone 13. And I'll talk about what HDR is in a second.
Excuse me, Scott, this is Barbara.
Yeah, Barbara.
Could I ask you, you said the land, should the land corrector should be on?
So I would, I don't have that on my phone, but I would put it on. Yeah. Yeah. That's just gonna help you guarantee you get a good shot.
And prioritize faster shooting?
Yeah. Go ahead and keep that on too. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Sure. Okay. So you also have this grid option here. When I turn that on, well, first of all, it's off right now. So when I open up my camera here, you'll notice that there's nothing really, it's just open screen, whatever's in the shot. But if I go ahead and turn that grid on, it gives me a chance to use some guides to help me compose my shot. So maybe I want to make sure in a landscape that my horizon is really straight. So what I'm going to want to do is sort of use this to line up that horizon and help me make sure that happens. Same if you've got something vertical like a skyscraper or something like that. If you want to make sure it's straight from a distance, you can do that.
So if you have the macro control on and you want to take a macro shot, it'll show up on your screen, the button to switch to that lens. I have a 13.
You have a 13. I believe so. Not having a 13, I don't know. But if you hit the macro option, let me ask you, is it down here that you're seeing the macro option?
No, I'm still looking in the settings, and it's has one that you could turn on, and I don't know whether I should turn it on and leave it on, or just if I decide to do a macro, then go into the settings and turn to macro control.
I would imagine, based on how the features have been done before, that you can turn on macro and it just enables you to do a really nice macro.
Okay.
But it's not going to automatically put it into macro.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. That's one of the new bells or whistles that they've added to the iPhone 13. That macro.
Will iPhone 12 have that also?
I don't believe the iPhone 12 does.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. A couple of other things that I don't really use. I don't really understand who would, but some people may. You'll see this mirror front camera. Some people are really freaked out when they take a picture of themselves, like a selfie, and it looks like at them as they are and not how they're used to seeing themselves in the mirror. So they would if you would rather see yourself as you're used to seeing yourself every morning when you get up and look in the mirror, you can switch this on and you'll see a mirror image of yourself. View outside the frame just allows you, if that is on, when you, let me see if this, when that's on, I'll be able to see a little bit outside of here, which will help me with you can't see it really well on the Zoom screen here, but I'm able to see a little bit outside of the frame. This is still the only thing that will get captured in my picture, but I can just kind of get a check on what might be outside that frame. Okay. And you also have prioritize faster shooting. That's just going to let you, if you're taking a lot of pictures one after the other, it's not the same as burst mode, but it will give you a lot of quality in each picture you snap if you're taking one after the other. And then here I have Smart HDR. So what is HDR? Because you'll see that on a lot of phones now. That stands for high dynamic range. And what's happening is when you take a picture, it is taking 3 shots at 3 separate exposures and combining them. So that's what it did here, or it didn't do that here. This is a normal shot. But what it does is create a much sharper image, one that's more vivid, and looks a lot more like what the human eye sees. Now, some photo editing tools will allow you to take HDR to the extreme so that it looks really surreal. But in this case, all it's doing is something like this. I took this shot of my dog just using the normal settings on my phone. And then I shot another one right after that using with HDR on. And you'll see the difference there.
Mhm, more dynamic.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Much
can't
more-
see the difference.
Right here, she's much more vivid. You can see her eyes better. A lot more detail in her face that I couldn't capture here.
Because it says normal shot under the picture.
Right here,
Does
it
that
does.
change?
Beg your pardon, Barbara?
Shouldn't it say dynamic range?
No, that would be
no.
this. That would be this. This is HDR. This I just took with a normal shot, with normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you showing 2 separate pictures or no?
Yeah, they are 2 separate pictures. Yeah.
Oh, I guess I'm not seeing the, oh, okay, there it is. I
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, Mary raises a good question. Why wouldn't you want to not use HDR? Apparently, a lot of people were asking that question, and Apple heard you and did away with it did away with the option in the iPhone 13. So now everything is taken in HDR. Now, the only reason why you might not want to is HDR photos take up, because they have all this extra detail. We're talking about digital photos. So the more detail, the more data that is happening here. Digital images are made up of data, essentially. So it's going to take up a little more memory on your phone. Not substantially more, but we have a lot of classes on how to store or back up images from your phone onto different tools like Google Photos so that you can you can delete them from your phone and save room. But at any rate, that's what HDR is going to look like on those older phones. I think maybe like on the iPhone 7, you will also have the option of keeping the normal photo, which would be looking more like this photo. I would also have a copy that would look more like this. That's another one where I don't quite know why they have that, but you have that option to keep in both versions if you want.
If I took a picture, had a picture already, how would I go in and add this feature to that picture that I took already?
you really can't, it's really when you take it that it captures that,
Okay,
captures it like that. So there are ways to, and I do have a couple of classes where I go over editing your photos on your smartphone, and you can get something kind of like this, but it really doesn't do it unless you take it in HDR mode.
okay.
Scott, this is Deborah. What, do you have the same capabilities then with HDR in editing, or does it give you more leeway?
With editing, there are some editing functions there that will add to the brilliance of the photo, maybe even the sharpness. I don't think you'll give you quite as good a quality as what you'll get with the HDR activated, but you can get somewhat close using the editing functions.
And you said this is available, the option is not available, starting with which model?
The iPhone 13.
Okay, so you have to have HDR on the 13. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's automatic. Yeah. So every photo I would take would look more like this quality rather than this. Yeah. Okay. Now you're also going to have more than one lens, possibly on your phone. Some of the newer versions of the iPhone have a couple of lenses here, or maybe even 3. The older phones are only going to have 1, but you'll see here when you open up your camera on your phone, you'll go down here and you'll see this 1 here, and then a 2 on one side and a 0.5 on the other. So let me open this up again. This doesn't like to last very long here. Okay. So what happens here is you open up the camera, and right now I can go here and just take a normal shot with the normal dimensions here. If I zoom, if I hit the 2 here, it's going to zoom in. And if I hit the 0.5, it's going to zoom out and get more of the surrounding area into the frame. Now I can also just tap my finger on one of these numbers and I get this little dial, and I can do this on a little bit more of a customized basis. So I can get kind of up this close. Now, I don't know how well you can see it on the Zoom screen, but this is getting a lot grainier the closer I get. On the iPhone 13, you have that macro mode, and that's going to allow you to take a close-up shot like that. Macro means that you're magnifying an object that is really close up. So a macro shot, if you've ever seen photos of insects that look life-size, say like a praying mantis, and you can actually see its eyes, a bee, you can see some of the hair on it. That's a macro shot. So that they've added to the iPhone 13. On here, it's just going to be starting with, I believe, the iPhone 11. I think this is the first time they had it where you could do that with the 3 lenses. So anything below that, especially an iPhone 8, think an iPhone 10 might have a zoom lens with it as well, but an iPhone 8 would still just have that single lens, and anything earlier than that would. An iPhone SE should have only 1 lens too. You can still always do the old method of just putting 2 fingers on your screen kind of close together and then spreading them out to zoom in. Okay, so that's how you operate your lenses. And then you're going to have a bunch of different modes down here. Everything to the left is going to be video related, which we're not going to go over today, but everything to the right is related to still pictures. So this will just take a normal photo. I wish I had a more interesting model here than what I have, but this is just a glass of water. So I take that, and I want to do that again. I take that photo. Now I'm going to go to portrait mode. So what portrait mode does is allow me to change my depth of field really nicely so that I can get kind of a blurred background. I can go up here to where you see this F up here. And adjust that so that the black background really gets kind of blurred out. It's not showing up real well on this. There we go. And you'll see this is a nice effect to get. My foreground is nice and in focus, and I get this blurry effect in the back. And I can also do different lighting conditions. Gives me a few options there. Okay, so that is the portrait mode. What that enables you to do are pictures like this. You'll see here, I've got a couple of pictures I've taken of people where that background has got a nice blur to it. Now, the iPhone 7 Plus and 8 Plus and all later models had that portrait mode. Just the regular versions of the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 8 did not have the portrait mode. So to get this, you're going to have to go to a iPhone 10 or after, or an iPhone 7 Plus or 8 Plus. And it's not just good, as you see, I did a glass of water, but you can use it for all kinds of things where you get that nice shallow depth of field. You know, you can do a still life, a flower shot, even shots of pets, but it just adds a little more of a professional look to your photos. And then you have Pano. That's the one at the far right. And Pano allows you to take pictures like this. So let's say I want to do that. I'm going to go all the way over to Pano. And this is really great for landscapes. But I'm only going to be able to demonstrate how it works in a very small room. So I just want to show you how the function here works, but I'm not going to be able to show a really stellar picture here. So what I'm going to be doing, I've got to step away from my microphone to do this. But I am going to tap on this white circle here. This is my shutter button. And I am going to start panning across the space I want to capture, in this case, a small room. And I am going to keep this white arrow on the yellow line here as much as I possibly can. This is going to allow me to get a panoramic shot. So again, I tap here. When I'm done doing the pan, I will tap here again, and that will shut it off. So it's going to look like this. And I get a shot like that, a really wide shot. Now, when you're closer in, it's going to give you a little bit of a distortion here. This room isn't all that circular, but it kind of looks like it is. I don't have a curve here, but when you are using this, when you're out and you see this gorgeous vista in front of you and you want to take a picture, that could be really handy to have. And they do make frames for pictures like this. You can shop online for it. You may have to shave off or crop off just a little bit on the side to get it to fit, but
Are you always moving your camera from left to right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And again, you want to keep that white arrow on that yellow line. Okay. So those are the big functions on the phone. Yeah. Another question?
I was just going to mention, well, just in response to that other question, you can switch it very easily from going from left to right to left. If you just tap on the arrow, it goes to the other side and aims the other way.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I forgot about that. I have done that before. So yeah, you can go the opposite direction if you want. For that matter, if you want, you can spin this, which it will not do on the Zoom screen, but I can set this down and move it up and down. So you'll get a more of a vertical look.
I'm sorry, I missed what you said about the vertical.
You can, if you tip this over, which for some reason will not display on my Zoom screen here, and hold it horizontally.
Okay.
You can do a vertical panoramic, so to speak. So it'd be a very long vertical look. So I could go say like this and just, well, let me try that again. And go up and get a very tall picture instead of a very wide one. So what I get, this really didn't capture it because I'm in such a low ceiling here, but it would be a longer photo.
So some of those old beautiful trees that we see and the beautiful sky in the background would be really nice to take a check, take a shot
Yeah.
and see what you can do with it. Cool.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So then you've got, I'm going to stop there though and see if there are other questions.
Yeah, I have a question for this panoramic. You just tap on once to start and tap again to finish, or do you have to keep pressing the button?
No, you don't have to keep pressing it. You just tap once and you do your pan and then tap to end it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, so on the older versions of the phone, you also should have some functions that you'll be able to see up top right here. And I'm going to walk through what all these do. On the newer versions, you're going to see something more like this little white caret here. That's what I've got on my phone. To open up and get to all of these, I have to tap on that and it will open up all of them down here for me to work with. So what I get here is I'm going to go down here and you see all of these popped up. So these are my settings. And this is going to give me a chance to adjust a few things before I actually take the shot. So the first thing you'll see here is pretty self-explanatory. It's your flash. Now, I'm not a big fan of using the flash on my camera, so I leave this off. If you want to have it come on automatically when the sensor in your phone detects that it needs to do that, you can do that, or you can just turn it on yourself selectively. Say you are someplace and you want to try that. And you just go here, click on, and it's on. And when you want to close out of any of these settings, you just tap here and it closes out. Now, a lot of people feel like they need to use the flash if they're taking a nighttime shot. The one thing I don't like about that is that you don't, what happens when you use that flash is everything right in front of you is illuminated and the background is all blacked out, essentially. But on the newer models of the phone, they've added this night mode that you can try. So if you're not seeing it on your phone and you have an iPhone 11 or after, it may be that you're just in a very well lit room, but it will come on automatically when it senses low light when you're opening your camera. So just to show you what will happen, I'm going to cover my lenses here for a minute. So I've got my hand covered over the lenses. That's why it looks all dark here. But you'll see what happened. This changed to yellow. Up here, you've got a tab here that says 3S, that's for 3 seconds. So what I'm essentially doing here is getting a long exposure, meaning my shutter on the phone will stay open longer to allow more natural light to come in. So if I'm taking a picture at nighttime of, say, a cityscape, I'm going to get a lot more of the natural lighting in there rather than a flash that just gets what's right in front of me. I do this when I'm taking nighttime shots with my digital camera, but I have to use special settings to do that. I usually mount it on something stable like a tripod so that I'm sure, because otherwise I'm just going to get a lot of movement and I won't get I'll get a blurry shot essentially. You might want to do that here too. Your iPhone is a lot more forgiving of hand movements when you're taking a shot, but it's not completely forgiving. So it still may pick up some motion. And they do make really nice tripods for smartphones that you can get if you want some stabilization there. So that's a really nice feature that they've added on. And then I would imagine some of you have taken a picture and then when you've opened it up to look at it, it moves. Am I right? You seen that? Okay. That is your live button. And I can see it up here, but it's down here as well. I've got mine turned off right now. But what happens when you take a picture in live mode? If I turn it on, you'll see here. I've got this bullseye here. When I take a picture in live mode, it's going to capture several frames. And it will result in a little bit of movement when you actually open up the photo. Some people really hate this function. They just think, why do I want this? And I have to tell you, the first time I saw it, I thought this is going to be cool for the first couple of times I use it. And after that, I'm not going to care. So I think it's just a gimmick. Where it comes in handy, though, is I'm going to go and open up a photo that I took in live mode. And scroll down to it. Here is a picture I took of my little nephew. And this one turned out okay, but I'm going to go up here to edit. And because I took this in live mode, I'm going to get an option to edit it in live mode. You'll see that down here. So I'm going to tap on that little bullseye, and you'll see here, this is what all got captured when I snapped that shutter button. So the shot took all of this. Now you'll see it says make key photo. That means that if I share this photo with anybody, if I say post it to Facebook or Instagram, or I send it via text to somebody, they're probably not going to see any of this. They're just going to see this single key photo. But all of this stays in my phone. So I could decide that I don't like what the phone picked for the key photo. I've got several other choices here. So maybe I want to make this one the key photo. And I just tap on make key photo. And now that is the still photo that everybody will see when I share it. So kind of that's where there is some utility to that live mode. It's not just a gimmick.
So Scott, if you make that one a key photo, do all the other ones disappear so that you can use just that one?
No,
So that's on your phone.
That's on my phone.
So you can't like reduce the amount of space on your phone by getting rid of all the extras, and you're stuck with that. Is that what you're saying?
As far as I know, yeah, I've never been able to figure out how to get rid of all those.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
This is Deborah.
Yeah, Deborah.
What would happen if you figure out what key photo you like, and then you take a screenshot of it and save it that way? Is it saved in a good resolution, or it's not recommended?
It probably won't be quite as high quality of a resolution, but I don't think there'd be all that much degradation. So you could do that. You know, the other thing you might be able to do is just download it from your phone and save it in a different folder or something like that. And maybe all those other frames won't go with it. And then if you want, you could delete it from your phone. Few options there, but
Thank you.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Scott?
Yeah.
There's another nice thing, actually a nice thing about the, let me see if I can get my video here again. Another nice thing about the live is that you can do little effects with it too. You can loop it, bounce it. You can make it into a long exposure. I like that when I'm doing waterfalls or anything like that with water or fountains. It makes for a really nice picture.
It does. I got a question for you, Ron. Have you been able to do that on your phone?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I've never been able to figure out how to do it on my phone. I've done it on my back.
Okay. Okay. So when you go to your, well, you have that live picture there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean, water would be better. I was trying to remember how to, that's why I was trying to remember how to do it. If you go up to the top left on there, when you're looking at one of your so take one of your live photos.
Right. I got to find where I put that one.
Especially if you have water.
There we
go. You can go to your albums, and your albums separate live pictures.
Yeah, but I've got this one here. So
okay,
I
so
go up
to the top left
where it is.
And then that drops down, and then you can do bounce or loop. And sometimes it's really a wonderful effect. And everyone says, how did you do that?
Yeah. So watch this. I'm just going to put loop. I'm so glad you told me that, Ron, because I couldn't figure out where that was on my phone. I've done this on my Mac.
Yeah.
What does bounce look like?
This is bounce.
That's bounce. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And then long exposure would be, let me see if
you have, I do mine on waterfalls, and it really comes out nice.
Yeah. If you ever had a picture of moving water, and of course you're not going to capture that, but this will do a really nice job with it. I'm trying to see if I've got one.
Oh, you must
Okay.
have.
Here we go. So this is one I took. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this. I think I already actually did that with this one. Maybe not. Okay. So what should happen here is that I should be able to smooth out this water so that it looks more like it's glass or something. Now, it didn't work really well here, but if you say have a waterfall
Yeah,
that you've taken or something like that, it will give you that. You've probably seen it,
It's
that
great.
blurry waterfall effect.
yes, yep.
Yeah.
When you're looking through your pictures like that, how do you tell which one you took live? You know, maybe you remember, but down the
So-
line, does it indicate a live photo?
Yeah,
that-
it will
that you
do
took it live?
that. If it will do that, if you, I mean, when you're looking through your photo library, it might not, but if you go to your albums, you'll see here where it says different media types. So I open up albums. You do that right down here and go down and you'll see live photos. And
Oh, I see.
yeah,
Does the picture automatically go into your album, or do you have to place it in your album?
no, it'll automatically go in that. So let's
Oh.
say you take a picture of or a video, they will automatically go into videos. Your selfies will automatically go to selfies because it knows that you used your front camera to do that. Yeah. In
Okay,
fact,
thank
it'll
you.
do it with portraits. Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's also very amusing to kids to
Yeah.
do that. When they do something and then you do the bounce or something, that you can amuse them for a half hour with that.
Yeah. 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 So Peggy, I don't know where that might be in the iPhone 13 Pro. I imagine it would be in the same spot when you open up a live photo. Say you just, this is my mom walking into a room. Let me see. You just tap on, go up here and tap, and you'll see what happened there. It made it a long exposure. So if my mom was moving water like a waterfall, I'd get more of that blurry effect. I just don't have one of those handy at the moment.
So I'm trying to do that on the SE, and I get that live thing up on the left-hand corner, but then when I touch it, nothing happens. So I must not
Okay.
have, when I have the
It
ability,
might-
if I get that,
It might not be on the SE. Yeah.
but I get that up, that left-hand corner thing with that live, I get that thing on my SE. But when I touch it, nothing happens that I can see anyway.
Okay. Yeah. So what you might be able to do though, I think you could do this possibly, Mary, is if you have a Mac, you can go to your photo album on your Mac. Just go to your photos there, and your mobile photos should be on there if you're using the iCloud. And those options are there as
Okay,
well. And let's say I go down to live photos and here's one I accidentally took live. I had it on. And if I go to edit, again, this is on my MacBook. You'll see down here, there's live. And I could, it's not really showing much because it was a still, but
There's no move.
now it moved a little bit. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Beyond that, you also have your aspect ratio. I'm going to turn that off for now. That is this number here. Now on the older phones, you're not going to see that. You basically just get either a square orientation or this standard 4:3. The aspect ratio is a proportional difference between the height and the width of your height and width of your photo. You can think of it as almost, I guess, as the shape of your photo. So if I tap on this to open it up, I can either go with a square orientation, and you'll see that completely changed it. So when I take the photo, it will be square. Or I can go to 16:9 and it widens and I get more in the frame. So it's not a panoramic, but it's a lot wider of a photo. Or if I'm holding my phone vertically, then it will be a taller photo. But 4:3 is the default. So it will always go there when you open it up first. You also have the ability to just adjust the exposure if you want, although I usually don't mess around with this a whole lot. I just work with what I've got. And you go here to your timer if you want to delay the shot going off. So let's say, for instance, you want to take a group picture and you want to be in that picture and you've got the phone. So everybody's wanting you to use your phone to take that group picture. What you can do is mount the phone on a tripod or any place else where it's stable, and click it to go off after 10 seconds. So when I snap this button here, it's gonna, I've got 10 seconds. I've got during this countdown here to move into the shot with the rest of the group before it captures that picture. And finally here, you have some filters. I usually don't bother turning these on because you can also use these, and I need to tap that off, because you can also use these in the editing stage of a photo. But if you'll look here, it's just going to give a different tone or look to the photo. They have different names for them, like dramatic warm or dramatic or mono, which is black and white. This gives it sort of a cinematic look almost, and noir. So if you want, you could always try one of those. If you do, that's what the photo is going to be captured in, though. You can always just take it in original mode and then apply these filters afterward when you're editing.
Scott, which ones come out better in black and white? If you do it with the camera or you do it during editing?
I think it really does. If you're wanting to go with black and white, I don't think it matters. I think it's going to turn out fine either way.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And that gets you through all of your functions. There's one more that I could not show you because I don't have the function on my phone, but there is one called photographic styles that you would see down here. That would be this little symbol of diamonds, or little stack of diamonds here, I guess you'd say. That's going to enable you to do different takes, I guess, on your photo. You can get a warmer tone when you snap that picture, or you can get a cooler tone where it's a little bluer in tone, or vibrant, which is going to make it just much more colorful and sharp, or just a rich contrast, which is also just gonna play up your highlights and your shadows. So that's on the iPhone 13. And I'm kind of coveting that. So I'll look forward to that when I finally upgrade to an iPhone 13. Okay. I do want to let you know about something else that I'm doing on a weekly basis It's Fridays at 11:30 Eastern time. It's called Apple Photos Weekly Quick Tips. So once you take your photos, what are you going to do with them? It's really just half an hour where you can check in, ask questions you have about editing your photos on your phone, storing them in the cloud, any kind of thing like that. So this is just a great way when you're stumped on something to check in and get some help. Just to give you a summary, the options on your phone camera will include panoramic and should include portrait if you've got anything starting with an iPhone 7 Plus. The live button will capture several frames for you, and you can select from among those for the one you want as a still shot. Settings on some of the newer models include night mode, which will automatically come on in low light, and multiple lenses allow you to take telephoto shots as well as ultra wide. And you will also have that macro capability on the iPhone 13, which I have been told is pretty phenomenal. So if you like to take real nice close-ups of bugs or flowers, anything like that, you can try that macro mode as well.